Welcome to Restoring Voices, a podcast written and produced by the 4J Project Consortium, dedicated to sharing the stories of young people who choose the path of restorative justice in the face of conflict and harm. In each episode, we want to amplify the voices of those who have been impacted and have bravely sought healing and accountability through dialogue and understanding. Through personal stories and honest conversations, we'll explore how restorative justice offers a pathway to reconciliation, resilience, and stronger community. Join us as we give voice to those who have transformed pain into progress and hope. For this pilot episode of the podcast, we are sharing the story of a young man who faced an unexpected and harrowing experience. He was attacked by classmates in a violent confrontation that left him injured and shaken. What followed could have been a traditional path through the justice system, but instead, he and his family decided to take a different route, a restorative path. Through restorative justice, he would come face to face with those who had caused him harm, not in a courtroom, but in a space of open conversations and accountability. Together, they had confronted the pain, the regret, and ultimately the possibility of reconciliation. For privacy reasons, we will call him Florian. One day, while I was in a class, a group of 12th grade students that I usually see just in the corridors of the school entered the room and began verbally and physically assaulting me. It all happened so fast that I didn't have the time to realize what was happening. Everyone around me was motionless and in shock. I remember that a few of my classmates were there, but those few didn't even try to help me because they were too scared. The assault, other than leaving me shaken and speechless, left me with head injuries, including a fractured nose. A few days later, a medical certificate from the Institute of Forensic Medicine confirmed I will need from 10 to 12 days of medical care to recover. My parents reported the incident to the police, and after a criminal investigation, 3 perpetrators were identified. Following a court notification, our school counselor decided to take action to avoid a legal process. He arranged a meeting with each of the aggressors, their families, and my family. In the initial conversations, only one of the perpetrators fully admitted his guilt. However, he and his parents were hesitant about participating in a mediation session. However, during these preliminary meetings, the counselor explained how the mediation process would take place and its potential benefits. He also assessed whether the guys who attacked me accept the responsibility and got the remorse. Gradually, all the guys admitted their guilt and agreed to join the mediation process. My parents also reconsidered their stance, expressing a willingness to hear the perpetrators' perspectives. They wanted to avoid subjecting me to the stress of a criminal trial if possible. Our counselor and a co-mediator from the city's mediation center led the mediation session. All 3 perpetrators attended with their parents. One of them also brought his grandmother. My parents, myself, and our school deputy principal. The session went incredibly well. Each of us was allowed to speak about the incident and propose solutions. I request that the perpetrators acknowledge their guilt, apologize publicly, and commit to avoid similar incidents in the future. The perpetrator's parent offered to cover all my medical expenses based on the medical bill provided. I appreciated their expressions of remorse and decided I wanted to give them a second chance. After 2 hours of discussions, we agreed, shook hands, and decided to move forward. We let go of our resentment and choose instead to foster respectful relationships from that point on. Florian's testimony shows us how restorative justice, in this particular case the method of family group conferencing, provide a safe space for empathy and communication, allowing both parties, Florian and the aggressors, to express themselves and heal emotionally from the experience. Once again, this is a good example of how restorative justice helps us to be vulnerable, let our guard down, and honestly listen. It is important to understand that by giving voice to stories like Florian's, we can help other victims by bringing them closer to the method of restorative justice and making the experiences of victims and offenders tangible and relatable. In restorative justice, these narratives are key to humanizing both sides of a conflict, allowing us to see beyond labels and understanding the underlying emotions and the motivations. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, every voice has the power to restore.